Welcome to BNEWS Weekly. I'm Phil Gallagher along with BNEWS Director Rich Hosford, reporters Tad Stefanak and Robert Paris, Peter Brown with the weather, Gretchen Carey with the community calendar, and Anthony Matos with sports. Thank you for joining us. Members of the Burlington community gathered on the town common to honor and remember the life of recent Burlington High School graduate Joseph Joey Tyler Fournier, who tragically died in a motor vehicle accident on November 1st. BNEWS reporter Robert Paris has this report.
On Friday, November 5th, the Burlington Town Common was filled with family and friends, paying their respects for Joe Fournier, a 2021 graduate of Burlington High School, who tragically passed away on November 1st from a car accident.
Cole Frieden, he was the one that kind of spearheaded this event, and he enlisted my help, so we just wanted to put something together to kind of memorialize him because he was such a great kid.
We're all here because Joey was like such a light to everyone, and he lit up every single room he walked into. And like, I know personally when I first moved here, he was one of my first friends, and he was one of the first people to show kindness. So it's really just sad. Just the whole situation is so upsetting and so frustrating, but we're all here today for him, and his legacy lives on.
Students and alumni met at Varsity Field and walked up to the Common as a group to do a candlelit vigil for Fournier. Fournier's friends and family wrote eulogies that they read aloud on the gazebo that evening.
You always know exactly how to cheer me up. Haven't gained the most beautiful, kind-hearted boy this week, and I'm not sure how life is going to go on without you. I'll hold down the fort until we can someday be a family of Day and Heaven, Joey. You've touched so many hearts, and nothing will ever be the same without you.
The person that made my life complete. You're my knight in shining armor. You are my rock. Your soul connected with mine and created such a beautiful love that is so rare and so lucky to find. You're the most selfless and loving human I have ever met. We planned on conquering this world together and had each other through it all. You were my best friend, and you touched the lives of so many. Your silly little smirk would light up a whole room, and your obnoxious dance moves you would do to cheer me up worked every time. I want nothing more to be with you, but my time is yet to come.
I just want to say goodbye, Joey. I love you so much, and I'm thankful for all the times that we have.
I'm the person I am today because of Joey Fournier. I looked up to him. I wanted to be just like him. To me, he had it all: the looks, the confidence, girls, popularity, friends, and most of all, the most genuine heart. He was a person that everyone could get along with no matter who they were. I admire him so much from the minute I met him. He was super confident and always had such clever ideas and plans. Joey taught me to be outgoing and how to be myself because he was always himself in front of me.
The energy that he brought to every single room and just be that light for other people.
It's just really hard to see him go because I've known him for as long as I have. He was just so funny, and like his main goal was just to like lift everyone up and always make everyone laugh.
From Varsity Field and the Town Common, I'm Robert Paris for BNEWS Weekly.
Long live Joey! Long live Joey!
The Burlington Select Board heard updates about the projects to connect to the Mass Water Resources Authority and to install new filters at the Mill Pond Water Treatment Plant to remove PFAS during Monday night's session. The information was provided by DPW Director John Sanchez, who started out with good news that the town had won $1 million MassWorks grant from the state for Phase 2A of the MWRA connection. He said this is on top of the $3.5 million grant the town has already received, meaning grant money will cover roughly half of the $8.8 million price tag of this phase of the project. Sanchez also gave an update on the progress of the project and the timeline moving forward. He said in the late 2020, the town completed Phase 1 by installing a section of pipe on Adams Street to connect to the MWRA through Lexington that they put into use in January of this year. This pipe allows 1 million gallons of water per day, and due to the PFAS situation, the town has been using the full amount. The next section, called Phase 2A, will be a connection through Arlington and is currently in the works. Sanchez said they will start installing pipes by spring of 2022 and plan to finish in May 23. This connection will allow the town to drop to 3.5 million gallons per day, which is a sufficient amount to take the Weinberg treatment plant and associated wells offline. Since some of the wells have been identified as being contaminated with 1.4 dioxane, this was an early goal of the project. The final phase of the project, 2B, should be completed in 2025. That will include a new main from Adams Street that will extend towards Mall Road. Once that is completed, the town will be able to draw up to 6.5 million gallons per day, giving the DPW the flexibility to take the Mill Pond treatment plant offline for temporary periods for repairs. Finally, Sanchez said they are working on obtaining filters that can address the town's PFAS issue. He said they are working on an accelerated plan by splitting up the contracting into 3 projects. The new filters, which are in high demand after the state changed the acceptable levels of PFAS in drinking water, many communities are looking to obtain, are being ordered separately and should arrive in about 8 to 10 months. The second is that pre-construction work is being done separately from the design and construction of the new facility. The final part, which they hope to bid for this winter, is the construction of the new building. Sanchez said the goal is to have the new facility and filters online by the end of 2022. On Monday evening, the Burlington Select Board voted unanimously to transfer the all-alcohol license previously held by Del Frisco's Grill to the high-end Italian brand Strega Italiano. Del Frisco's originally closed in October 2019, but in part due to the economic shutdown that came with the pandemic, has not been able to find an entity for a transfer until recently. Strega Italiano is one of 3 brands owned by restaurant group PPX Hospitality Brands, which also owns Legal Seafoods and the steakhouse Smith & Walensky. Strega, which has a location in Woburn along with a couple in Boston, features pastas, steaks, and seafoods, among other entrees. Members of the board said they were glad to finally see the license transferred so it can be put to use. However, they also stressed the need for an open communication because of the previous delays and the fact the lease agreement is still being worked out. Here is Select Board Member Bob Hogan.
The awkward situation of trying to pinpoint an opening date. This has been going on a while, so we're really concerned that we have all the information. If you could let Lynn know, even if it's 3 days in a row, if you get information on something, if you would keep her up to date so we know everything that's going on. Because we want this to be a success, we want this to happen. We just need to know that everybody's on the same page.
Attorney Trish Farnsworth, representing Strega, said the company does plan to do roughly $1.5 million in renovations of mostly cosmetic changes to fit their brand. She estimates they will open in about 6 to 9 months. Members of the board seemed happy with that assessment. The Veterans Day ceremony returned to Burlington Town Common after going virtual last year due to the pandemic. BNEWS reporter Robert Paris has this look at the event.
Salute to all who are serving in the United States military. On November 11th, members of the community gathered at the Burlington Town Common for the annual Veterans Day ceremony put on by the Veterans Service Office. This year, it was bigger than ever, as the event was held in person again.
It was something that we were severely lacking in last year. It just didn't feel right that we didn't do it. And so this year, I think the theme of getting back to normal, and it feels normal again, so that's good.
The 2021 keynote speaker was Greg Irvine, an Army veteran who served from 1981 to 1987. Alongside him was his son Dakota, a 2017 BHS graduate who enlisted in the Army that same year and was also deployed overseas to Afghanistan from 2018 to 2019.
I was in the Army right after high school from 1981 to 1987. I did 2 tours. I was stationed in Alabama, Alaska, Fulda, Germany for a little bit, and my last duty station was Fort Devens, Massachusetts.
It's a good day to share your stories, because that's probably the best way for recruitment, I would say, is having those generational stories passed down from my father, my grandfather, my uncles, and also just to spread awareness to our experiences to people who don't quite understand or haven't been through it.
As the brave men and women continue to serve, we must not forget the sacrifices they have made to keep our country safe.
The personal aspect of what it means to serve, not just for those that have served, but also the families back home, and really the sacrifices that those families make as well while their loved one is overseas.
We're here to celebrate veterans, and the folks here that aren't veterans or were the family member or just came down to see the event, to see that the love and respect that we have for each other in the veteran community, and to hear these stories and hopefully facilitate some younger people considering the military.
Hold up! Oh!
I'm Robert Paris for BNEWS Weekly.
A Burlington educator has been honored for his work by the Massachusetts Computer Using Educators, or MassQ, an organization focused on technology and education. MassQ announced Leroy Wong, who runs the BHS Help Desk, as their featured educator for November of 2021. According to MassQ, Wong was chosen at least in part for his long resume in teaching. He began his education career through the Teach for America program, where he started as a special education teacher in North Carolina. This is where he also attended school at Highlands High School from K-12 and college at Duke. After 3 years of teaching in North Carolina, Leroy moved to Massachusetts to attend the Harvard Graduate School of Education. After a brief stint working with the Job Corps program at the U.S. Department of Labor in Washington, Leroy found his way back to Massachusetts and worked in a couple of departments at the Mass Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. In 2016, Leroy was hired by Burlington Public Schools to teach the Burlington High School Help Desk program. Burlington was one of the first districts in the country to implement a one-on-one program in 2011, and the BHS Help Desk was one of the first student-run tech support programs created to provide frontline tech support to students and faculty. This program has been recognized nationally. MassQ said they are recognizing Leroy Wong for his contribution to educators and students everywhere. In a push to continue to improve emergency service to the town of Burlington and beyond, Lahey Hospital and Medical Center has built a new helideck with closer proximity to the emergency department. BNews reporter Tad Stefanak went to check it out and has this report.
A new helideck at Lahey Hospital and Medical Center is now in service next to the hospital's emergency department, providing improved access for critically ill and trauma patients needing urgent medical treatment.
So our new helideck is a great advantage because before we had a landing spot up in our upper parking lot, and when a patient was coming to us, we would have to meet it up there with an ambulance, transfer the patient into the ambulance, and then drive them around our parking lot back into the emergency department and get them into the trauma room. Now the helideck is located right outside the trauma rooms, and it's about 1 minute from landing here to getting inside. We approached the town of Burlington about using this location right outside the emergency department. They were very supportive, of course, had appropriate questions, and we worked through the planning process with them to put in a state-of-the-art helideck right outside the emergency department. So the other day we had a patient come in from Derry, New Hampshire. We saw it on the ground in terms of where the accident was, and it was 12 minutes from when the patient left the scene of the accident to when they were inside our trauma room. In the old days that would have been more like 25 or 30 minutes by the time they landed and transferred the patient down here. So it's been a great advantage. The patients are right inside. One person said, you know, it takes us up a level. I said, really, there's nothing higher than this, because being a level 1 trauma center with a helideck located right outside the emergency department is really state of the art. The other thing we did is put in a state-of-the-art defrosting system that allows it to operate in all weather and all conditions. So we're most appreciative of our partnership with the town of Burlington. We enjoy being a tertiary care center, but also a community care center.
From the Lahey Hospital and Medical Center helideck, I'm BNews reporter Tad Stefanak.
History buff and creator of BurlingtonRetro.com, Robert Fahey, gave a presentation on Kent Cottage off of Middlesex Turnpike and brought some special guests, 2 women who spent a lot of time there as children. BNews director Rich Hosford was there and has this look.
It was a lesson in history on one of Burlington's most unique buildings last week in the Murray Kelly Room of the Human Resources Center as the Burlington Historical Society hosted local history buff Robert Fahey, creator of the website Burlington Retro. Robert was there to talk about the Kent Cottage off of Middlesex Turnpike, a structure that starkly stands out from the neighboring area of office parks and other businesses. In fact, its uniqueness is what drew him to the project of researching the cottage in the first place.
When you drive by Kent Cottage, you can't help but be curious about it. It's such an odd duck. It's in a strange location. It doesn't fit the surroundings. It looks like it came from a different era, which it did, and it came from a whole different world. And so it naturally gets the question marks going, and you really want to find out, what is that thing? How did it get there? Did anyone live in it? What's the story? It always hits you. What is the story behind that place?
Robert said researching the Kent Cottage fits perfectly with the mission of his website.
So I decided that when I made a history website about Burlington, that I would try to shed the most light on the murkiest places in town that people know the least about. And that one was on the top of the list. So right away I started to hammer away at that particular house. And luckily I found a really good supply of photos because it was a photographic family. They had money, they had technology in the early days. They took a lot of photos and they saved them. And the James McGregor Burns, the writer who came from that town, was very responsible and saved those photos and stuck them in Williams College. And two librarians there, who I'm sure weren't getting paid anything, went through the effort of digging those out and sending me those images. So, and I was able to use technology like Facebook to get all the details filled in, the story behind the photos and more photos. And so I'm very proud that I was able to shine a bright light on the darkest little corner of town.
Fahey also brought in a couple of very special guests to talk to the audience. Olette Islin, whose family lived in the cottage when she was a child and is the oldest living person who ever lived there, and her cousin, Deborah Burns, who spent a lot of time at the cottage as a child. Olette said it was great to see all the old photos and relive old memories.
I was really surprised, and I was really I was interested, I was curious, and I was really delighted to see all those photos and to know that somebody cared about the house.
Deborah added it was good to see the photos, but difficult to see the current condition of the cottage.
It's kind of really like time travel because you're seeing the place through several layers, and one is remembering scenes from childhood and playing and running around and going on the pond in the little boat and playing with the dog, and then seeing this kind of dreary gray house and yet still so sturdy.
Finally, last May, town meeting approved a change to the PDD of the Northwest Park, where Kent Cottage is located, to allow a condo project at the site of the historic building as a way of preserving it while also making a profit. The original facade of the building will be kept, and 2 units built in a renovated inside, and 8 other units will be built next to the existing cottage. I asked Robert his thoughts on the plan.
I think it's the best possible scenario because it has to make business sense for it to happen. If it doesn't make business sense, it doesn't matter how altruistic it is or how pie in the sky, it won't happen. So if they have figured out a way to make that work financially, and the town has blessed it because it preserves the house, then I say do it.
We'll have Robert Fahey's full talk up shortly. In the meantime, from the Human Services Building, I'm BNEWS Director Rich Hosford.
Burlington's new Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Subcommittee has started getting down to work. They held their first meeting on October 27 and the second this past Wednesday. During the initial session, they appointed community member Dr. Barbara Addison Reed as the chair and Select Board member Nick Priest, who is largely responsible for the creation of the committee, as vice chair. They also discussed how they would like to proceed in the future. For instance, the meeting was held virtually, and member Nancy Bonacera suggested that even when the governor's order allowing municipalities to meet virtually ends in April of next year, that they keep a virtual component as a way of increasing participation. They also decided how frequently to update the Select Board. While the goal of the committee was to have a report after a year, Chair Addison Reed said it could be helpful to provide updates more regularly. They agreed to submit quarterly reports. The group also set their priorities for the subsequent meeting. They determined the first order of business would be to set definitions for diversity, equity, and inclusion they will use moving forward. They decided that at the end of the next meeting, they would have a discussion on definitions and invite Assistant Superintendent of Schools, Patrick Larkin, and District Director of Diversity, Raymond Porch, for their insight. You can watch the first meeting on our website at bcattv.org. We go now to BNews weatherman Peter Brown for the latest forecast for the week ahead. We'll also check out the community calendar with Gretchen Carey to see what's happening in the week ahead.
Well, hello everyone. This is Peter Brown with Look at Your Weather for the next 7 days. Here we are heading into the middle of November. I know it's hard to believe that we're not that far from Thanksgiving now, and the chilly weather has definitely settled into the Burlington area over the past couple of weeks after we had that really warm October. Now, as we start our period on Friday, we should be seeing temperatures at this time of year in the mid-50s, and it's actually going to be about 10 degrees warmer than that to start out our period, so that's some nice news. As we round out the period getting in towards next Thursday, of course, we're getting deeper and deeper into November, and our average high should only be in the low 50s, and it's probably going to be a little bit cooler than that as we head into the end of the period. So some cooler times ahead, and of course, now since we've turned the clocks back, you notice it is a little brighter in the morning, but unfortunately at night the sun is setting before 4:30 in the afternoon now, so that's a sure sign that fall is here and winter, unfortunately, is on its way. So as we go ahead, let's take a look at what the Climate Prediction Center is calling for us here in the Burlington area over the next 7 to 10 days in terms of temperatures and precipitation. Now, looking at our temperature map, this is something that we've seen quite a bit over the past 4 to 5 weeks here. Now, we had some nice weather a couple days ago here in the Burlington area, temperatures back up near 70, but it looks like the Climate Prediction Center is calling for us to have near or slightly below average temperatures in most of southern New England, and that extends all the way down into the southeast into Florida. Looks like if you want any warm weather, it's going to be heading out west, so that's where you'll have to go to see those nice mild conditions. As we look at our precipitation chances, this is also good news because if we're seeing below average temperatures at this time of the year, I know a lot of us, our minds go right to snow, but it looks like it's going to be drier than average. So looks like we're going to start out with a little bit of rain on Friday, but it doesn't look like we're going to really be seeing much falling from the sky thereafter. So as we go ahead, let's take a look at those 7 days of weather coming up for us here in the Burlington area. Again, starting on Friday, this is where we're going to see the real meat and potatoes in terms of the rain for the next 7 days or so. We're going to see some off and on light to moderate rain, maybe a couple of thunderstorms in there on Friday. Temperatures again up in the low to mid 60s, so a mild feel out there. Now, as we get into the weekend, we're going to start to see the temperatures take a slide down as we get into Saturday, temperatures in the mid-50s, where they should be at this time of the year, but then pretty chilly as we get into Sunday with sunny skies out there and highs only in the upper 40s. And, of course, those nighttime lows getting down there into the 30s and also the upper 20s again, so definitely need that winter coat if you're going to be out after sunset. Now, as we head into Monday, we have the chance of maybe a few spot showers here and there, but again, kind of chilly, temperatures only around 50 or so, and that's pretty much where we're going to stay for the rest of the week. Now, as we get in towards the Wednesday time frame and Tuesday, looks like we're going to be seeing some pretty chilly conditions here in the Burlington area. Temperatures only in the low 40s, so we may have a bit of a feel of winter out there. And we may see a little bit in the way of some unsettled weather heading in towards when we get into Thursday and heading in towards next Friday. But right now, looks like it's going to be maybe just some chilly showers. Doesn't look like we're going to be seeing any flurries or any snow in the near future. So that's some good news at least. So everyone, get out there, enjoy the weather, and have a great week.
I'm Gretchen Carey, and this is your community calendar. On November 18th, the Burlington Public Library is having an in-person event with Ted Reinstein called Before Brooklyn. For more details and to pre-register, go to burlingtonpubliclibrary.org. On November 20th at 8 a.m., the Burlington Parks and Recreation Department will be having a 5K turkey trot at Burlington High School. For more details and to sign up, go to burlingtonrecreation.org. Also on November 20th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., the People Helping People Food Pantry will be having a Thanksgiving food drive at the United Church of Christ Congregational. For more details, call 781-389-3748. I'm Gretchen Carey, and that was your community calendar.
The fall season is all but over, but there is some action to report. For all the latest from the Red Devils, we go now to BNEWS sports reporter Anthony Matos for this week's sports report.
Hey everyone, I'm Anthony Matos, and this is your weekly sports report. The fall postseason is winding down, and a few teams are still in the MIAA playoffs, so let's get to it. Burlington football is on a 2-game winning streak. First, they play the Somerville Highlanders on November 5th. Let's check out these highlights.
It was a frigid evening as the Burlington Red Devils took on the Somerville Highlanders in a consolation matchup at Varsity Field. In the first quarter, the Red Devils forced the Highlanders to punt after a 3-and-out on their drive. Senior defensive end Anthony Elkins blocked the punt and set up Burlington with a 1st and goal. Senior quarterback Ronan Noak handed it off to senior running back Adam Eldib, who gave the Devils the first score of the night, 7-0 after the extra point. After another 3-and-out for Somerville, Noak threw it to junior tight end Gabe Santiago, who brought up the score 14-0 after the extra point. There was another 3-and-out for the Highlanders. The Red Devils had possession of the ball again, and Noak ran it himself to bring the lead up to 21-0 after the extra point. At the end of the first quarter, it was 21-0 Burlington. To start off the second quarter, Somerville quarterback Victor Nathan Santiago was looking for wide receiver Jeremy Ellie in the end zone on 4th down. The play was broken up and the Devils took over the ball. As the Devils marched down the field, Noak ran it in once again to give the Devils another touchdown on the board, 28-0 after the extra point. With the Highlanders getting another 3-and-out, the Red Devils found themselves once again in the end zone as Adam Eldib got his 2nd touchdown, 35-0 after the extra point. The Devils immediately got the ball back as Santiago threw an interception to senior linebacker Tim Vadney. Eldib finished the Burlington drive with another touchdown, 42-0 after the extra point. Halftime, 42-0. In the third and fourth quarter, no one scored any points, and the Devils secured their first win of the season against Somerville, 42-0.
The Red Devils then traveled to Winchester on Veterans Day. Let's take a look.
It was a cold evening at the Knowlton Turf as the Red Devils and Winchester faced off. In the first quarter, Burlington got 2 touchdowns, one by quarterback Ronan Noak and the second by wide receiver Sammy Doherty. Winchester only got 1 touchdown in the entire game by running back Derek Jancy. At the end of the first quarter, it was 14-7. Sammy Doherty had another touchdown in the second. Halftime, 21-7. The Red Devils extended their lead with 2 more touchdowns in the third by running back Adam Eldib and another by Ronan Noak. 34-7 after a missed extra point. Eldib had another touchdown in the fourth. Final score, 41-7, Red Devils.
Burlington moves to 2-8 on the season and will have their final game of the season on November 25th, where they will host the Bedford Buccaneers on Thanksgiving. Girls swimming headed to the MIAA Fall North Sectionals on November 7th. Junior Radina Kalichev, senior Reese McLean, junior Caroline Scatiara, and 8th grader Grace Davidson competed in the meet. Burlington finished at a time of 1 minute and 85 seconds and came in 16th place. At the end of the events, the Red Devils tied with Stoneham in 17th place and received 2 points in the meet. Burlington will head to the MIAA State Championship on November 13th at the Boston Sports Institute in Wellesley. We'll have the results in next week's sports report. Girls volleyball headed to Hopkinton High School on November 9th to face the Hillers. Burlington lost the match 0-3 and finished the year 14-6. Good luck to all the graduating seniors. Girls cheerleading hosted the Middlesex League competition on November 3rd inside the Rubber Gym. As of this taping, the results have not yet been posted. Burlington will head to the North Regional Championship at Elrica High School on November 14th. They will be competing around 2:55 in the afternoon. For tickets, go to the following website at the bottom of the screen. 10 boys cross-country athletes will be participating in the Division II cross-country tournament at Gardner Golf Course on November 13th. Good luck to the athletes, and we'll have the results on next week's sports report. For more Red Devil action, go to the BNEWS Sports section at bcattv.org/sports and check out our Twitter page at BNEWS Sports. That's all for Weekly Sports Report. I'm Anthony Matos. Back to you guys in the studio.
Another week, another photo to highlight. This week's photo was a perfect example of why so many people love autumn. It was sent in by Mary Leach and features the last light of the day on a pretty path at Mary Cummings Park here in Burlington. The image just pulls you in and makes you want to head out on a hike. Thanks for the photo, Mary. We'd like to see your photos. They could be of your fall activities, a family trip, or just everyday moments, whatever you think is interesting and want to share with the community. Email your photos to bcat@bcattv.org with the subject line Photo of the Week. Remember to stay tuned after the news for this week's Burlington Public Schools update for all the latest education news. Also, remember to get that snowblower out and tuned up, ready to go, because it's not uncommon, as you know, to have snow in November in Massachusetts. Okay, that's it from the news desk here at BNEWS Weekly. I'm Phil Gallagher, along with Rich Hosford, Tad Stefanak, Robert Paris, Peter Brown, Gretchen Carey, and Anthony Matos. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening. This is our Burlington Public Schools update for November 12th, 2021. Yesterday, we were off from school in honor of Veterans Day. With this in mind, we want to start this week's message with gratitude to our veterans, with respect and recognition of the contributions they and their families have made to protect the interests of our country. A couple of recent teacher recognitions. Congratulations to BHS Digital Learning Coach Leroy Wong, who was selected as the Featured Educator of the Month by the Massachusetts Computer Using Educators, MassQ. Leroy has been the digital learning coach at Burlington High School since 2016. He currently teaches the Help Desk program, as well as a computer science and video game design course at Burlington High. Leroy has served on the MassQ Influence and Advocacy Committee since 2019 and has been involved with MassQ since the early to mid-2000s when he worked at the Office of Digital Learning at the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Leroy has presented at both state and national conferences. In 2018, he co-presented with a colleague and student on artificial intelligence and chatbots at the ISTE 2018 conference in Chicago. Leroy is also the faculty advisor for the Burlington High School Programming Club and Esports Club, and in 2020 obtained a remote pilot certificate from the FAA to operate as a drone pilot. MassQ would like to recognize Leroy Wong for his contributions to educators and students everywhere. Congratulations, Leroy. Congratulations also go out to BHS math teacher Jean DeRosa, who was selected as a state finalist for the Presidential Award for Excellence in Mathematics and Science Teaching for 2021. The Presidential Awards for Excellence in Mathematics and Science Teaching are the highest honors bestowed by the United States government, specifically for K-12 science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and/or computer science teaching. The awards were established by Congress in 1983. Congratulations again to Jean for being a state finalist. We have a BPS LPAC meeting Monday. The next English Learner Parent Advisory Council meeting will be this Monday, November 15th, from 6 to 7:30 p.m. at Francis Wyman Elementary School. We also have Session 2 of Let's Talk coming up this Wednesday. Session 2 of Let's Talk About It will be this coming Wednesday from 7 to 8:30 p.m. This will be a continuation of last month's initial discussion about diversity, equity, and inclusion in our school community, facilitated by our Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, Ray Porch. If you would like to attend this upcoming session, which is co-sponsored by the Burlington Education Foundation, or any of the remaining sessions, please register with the link in the video description and you will be sent a link prior to the session. Lahey survey, you can help shape the health services that are available in Burlington. Lahey Hospital and Medical Center is conducting its Community Health Needs Assessment. The information from this survey will help Lahey prioritize the health needs of the community and develop programs and policies to address these needs. Hearing from you is critical to their process. This survey, linked in the video description, is open to all who live or work in Burlington, ages 16 and above. The deadline to complete the survey is this coming Monday, November 15th. Our COVID update for this week: for the third week in a row, we had 3 cases of COVID-19 in the districts. In regards to our Test and Stay program, we have administered over 750 tests on individuals with consent forms submitted, and we have been able to keep these students in school. That's it for this week. Have a great weekend.